Hey guys, welcome back to the next part in this WordPress series. This is going to be the section where we now actually get into some real meat here, which is what you want to do when you first fire up a WordPress, the things you want to change. In our last video, I just very quickly ran through what everything was in WordPress, where to change, what everything kind of did, and this little hidden menu here, and some of that kind of basic stuff. Today we're actually going to I want to show you what I do when I fire into a new WordPress. So let's just get right into it. Very first thing, I go into the posts and I get rid of the default hello world post. I move that straight into the trash can and then we burn it forever. Okay. The next thing is I go into the pages. This is if you just want to get started. Leave that privacy page as just a draft, but do a quick edit on this sample page. And we're going to change this to home page and make it a main with no parent. It will be by default. Change its slug to home and then just hit an update. Okay. In the comments section, same drill as, or I'm sorry, I thought there was a comment, but there's not. It gets deleted because the post got deleted. Okay, next thing, you're going to want to jump into your appearance into themes. Now, by default, the 2020 is active, but these old two come pre-installed with it. Here's what I highly suggest you do. Any themes that you have in here in your WordPress that you're not using or that you don't plan to use, I would suggest you get rid of them and just don't even have them in here, because what happens is if you have old themes, this has happened to me. When you have old themes that linger around and you never plan on using them again, you just never are going to activate them. What happens is WordPress continually gets updated, but those themes don't, and then it can create security loopholes where it's an outdated theme that's known, and the way it was built on WordPress has security issues, but it's just hanging out in the back field. Like, you don't even know it's there, right? It's like an old car just rotting away out in the back 40, and you have no idea that it's back there. So my suggestion is you just open these up and delete them. And you do this with every theme. So even when we change out of 2020, we're going to delete that too. So I get rid of these. And then I come down into plugins. And if you want to keep these, you can. But for this build, I'm just going to select them both and get rid of them. So we have no plugins. And then for users, we're okay leaving that right now. For tools, that's okay right now. For settings, we're going to go straight in and go to the general. And when we installed it, it just leaves it as just another WordPress site. Here we can actually create a little tagline. We're actually going to create this in an SEO plugin, but for now I'm just going to add it to show you that you can actually add it here if you don't have one, and this will be your site's description, and I'll show you where it actually shows up on your site. So we're just going to say, we make the most awesome boomin' flowers. All right, that's a terrible description for a flower business, but that's what you're going to get. So the rest of this is the same. If you need to change your administrative email, you can do it here. We kind of went over this a tiny bit in the last one, not in depth though. I kind of just ran through it. Membership, anyone can register, or you can leave that off and it's only people that you allow. And so nothing else I change here except for if my time zone or I want to change anything else to be different. So that's that. And then in the writing, we want to make sure, by default, I think everything's okay in the writing. I don't think that I really change anything in here. In the reading, this is important because in the reading, and this is kind of a weird spot in WordPress where this is set, but on your reading settings is where you're actually able to set your static home page, and that's what shows up here when the person just goes to your site, right? They don't go to any inner page, they just go to your website. And so if you now select the static, you say we want a static homepage. We don't want just our post to show, because we may not even be doing posts in this flower website, right? It's just a flower website. But WordPress by default is a blogging platform because that's how it was originally created. So it tries to treat everything like a blog, but we're not going to do that. So we're going to treat that, and guess what's here? Well, we just created that, didn't we? In the pages, we swung through and did that. So now that homepage is our homepage by default. And the rest of this I leave the same. And since it's a local host, we're not going to discourage search engines from the site. We're going to talk about some SEO stuff, some basic pre-launch SEO stuff, and why it's really important to do to really plan your pre-launch SEO if you don't want to have your site show up wrong in search engines. And I'll talk about that a little bit too, in not the next video, but I think the one after it. So that's how we set up the homepage. So now that page we created will be your homepage, and I think this See, we got rid of it, so now the posts are gone, right? And this is the content that's inside that example page. So the post is gone. Also, here's that description we just put in of your site. But this is all going to change when we bring in a new theme anyway, so it's really not going to matter. Everything else I pretty much leave the same, except for permalinks is vitally important. I don't want it as day and name. I think this is a really not a good way to run this. And we're also probably going to change this in our SEO plugins as well. But for all times I do permalinks, generally always I will do post name. This is for SEO purposes, because every time you make a page, that page's name will appear actually in the bar, versus by default, usually WordPress has this. I don't think they do this plain anymore. I think they actually do it numeric or month of name, but it used to be plain by default. So like if you had homepage, it would actually look like this right here. So nobody would have any idea what they're doing on your site, and search engines have no idea how to categorize your site. So I select post name, and then I save that. Okay, and so now your permalink structure is updated. That's pretty important. And the rest of it, besides creating a privacy policy, which I could do in this video, but I don't think it's really necessary. When I come into a new WordPress theme, that's exactly what I do step by step. I go to the dashboard. This is just my own method. Everybody has their own, but I go into the dashboard, I drop down the screen options, and I get rid of everything. I make sure the updates are good. I get rid of any posts that are by default. I come into the pages and I change this to homepage. This is a much more clean way to look at your information. Now you have a homepage and a privacy policy page, so everything's really clear. Comments, you won't have any. Appearance, you get rid of all your old themes that you don't need and that don't make any sense. Your plugins, we're going to get to plugins here pretty quick and which ones I install, but for this video, I'm just keeping each one short and easy to follow. For this one, doesn't really matter. We'll get to plugins, and there's actually quite a few that I install by default right when I fire up a WordPress. So that'll be more of a in-depth video, 10-minute video on its own. Users, you're the only user, so that doesn't really matter. Tools, none of this stuff's really going to matter to you unless you're importing blogs or posts from somewhere else, or you're doing something like that. Otherwise, that section's not going to matter to you. And then settings, we just went through there. General, change your tagline. Reading, set your home page. Permalinks, go to post name. And at this point, your WordPress really has its good basic foundation set up where everything's correct to start building on it for a website. For like a website build versus a blog build is what I mean. So that's a pretty simple layout. When I install WordPress from start to this point, this is exactly where I would be sitting on almost every site I build. So in the next video, I might go into the pre-SEO stuff that you want to do before you actually get things going. I probably will go ahead and do that since it's pretty important too, and I usually do that before I do anything else too, even on a local host. So like every other video, I would appreciate a subscribe and I would appreciate a bell so you guys know when I have other WordPress videos coming out, because I'm trying to get these things out pretty quickly, and I plan on doing a lot more cool stuff like custom site builds and maybe even custom plugins and stuff. I don't know yet. I'm just kind of taking it as I feel it. But anyway, I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.